Hi everyone, welcome back. We are back from our break and we are going to hop right back into our panels. I hope you guys got a chance to hang out and check out some more of Decentraland, have a nice little stretch, get yourself some water and some food so that we can dive right in. So we just had a really exciting conversation about the future of music distribution. And we've been talking all weekend about how we have all of this new technology that's breaking down geographical barriers and increasing accessibility. And it's a really exciting time right now for rising artists who now have the tools to do things independently, even with limited resources, are able to now do things like distribute and make music on their own with all of these new technological tools. And now we have access to reach worldwide audiences and collaborators. So next up, we are going to jump into our panel on new studio technologies to talk about some of these new resources that artists can now use to their advantage to make music on their own. So I'd love to introduce our next host, Jordan Steele.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. And I hope you had a great networking session and got to connect with some other people virtually in DCL and off of here. My name is Jordan Steele, and I'm an events coordinator at Finessed Media, and I am so happy to be speaking in front of you all today. Like Bea said, we're going to be moving into the last portion of Finessed Media's Music and Tech Summit. Oh my gosh, it's almost over. But I hope everyone's enjoyed it so far, and we truly appreciate you all for coming out this weekend. For our last panel of the day, we'll be discussing new studio technologies and innovative ways to collaborate in and outside of the recording studio. This includes connecting audio over IP addresses, digital audio workstations moving into the cloud, and finding the best practices for remote collaboration. And we have some awesome panelists here today to share their knowledge with us. We have Alexis Engineers, Parichat Songmuang, Mike Lee, BABYBOYBLUE, A.K.A. Liam Reyes, and Konrad Zukowski. And I will let them briefly introduce themselves and also tell us about what you do in the music industry and the music and tech spaces. And I'll start with Liam, BABYBOYBLUE. Oh, you're muted.
Hello, everybody. I am BABYBOYBLUE. My real name is Liam Reyes. I am a music producer, mix engineer, and indie artist. I'm currently doing this full time. I've been doing it since the start of the pandemic. So I'm really thankful to be a part of this panel and talk about how I've been able to do this full time with the majority of my clients being online and how I'm able to collaborate with people all across the US, all across the world for that matter. And yeah, really fortunate for being here.
Thank you so much, Alexis.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey guys, so I'm Alexis Engineers. My full name is Alexis Cunningham. I'm just an all-around creative. I used to just say engineer, but the past 2 years I've been doing way more than that. I have an artist development agency called Brainsbeatsbeauty. So basically I do everything that involves developing an artist, especially an indie artist. So from engineering, producing, marketing, video editing, creative direction, I kind of do it all. So that's kind of my contribution to the music industry.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Mike, what about you?
Hello, everyone. I'm a graduate researcher at Georgia Tech. My background is music, so I'm a composer, audio engineer. And right now I'm doing research on audio, music, machine learning, AI, all the combination of those. So like music information retrieval, automatic mixing, that's my field right now. Yeah, glad to meet you all. And let's hope I'm talking about this networking audio.
Awesome, thank you so much. Perry?
Hi, everyone. My name is Perry. I am the studio manager from the Music Technology program at New York University. I'm also a current PhD student in the program as well. In addition to that, I'm also an audio researcher, researching in 3D audio and 3D audio reproduction, as well as being a recording engineer, mixing, working in the James L. Dolan studio at the university.
So cool, so cool. And last but not least, Konrad. Konrad Zukowski.
Here I am. My name is Konrad Zukowski. I'm the inventor and CEO of Kaotica. If you don't know what that is, my product's called the Eyeball. And what it does is emulates a studio booth-like environment around your microphone. So you can get professional quality vocals everywhere. As being the inventor, I wear many hats. You know, I am into production. I am into audio engineering. You know, I travel quite extensively, you know, meeting a variety of people within the music business and really just learn that kind of, you know, top down level approach. You know, there's a lot of love in the music business, but you got to find it. And that's the thing, you know, you got to tread through the weeds till you find something that works. But anyways, it's a pleasure to meet all of you, and I'm looking forward to being part of this panel.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Konrad. We have panelists from all over the music and tech spaces here today. I'm really excited to speak with you all today. But before we get into the nitty gritty, can I ask all of you, how have you been enjoying Festivalland so far? Have you gotten the chance to explore any of it? Anyone can answer that one. If not, that's okay though. Liam, have you started or have you been in there?
So unfortunately, I haven't, and I really regret not, because I was kind of just all over the place yesterday and today, kind of just continuing to post content. But from what everybody said and the whole connections that they're making, it sounds like a really cool thing. And I'm sure that within the next couple of years, it's going to be the brand new norm for how everybody meets and how everyone connects without having to leave the comfort of their home. So although I missed it, I will definitely be there more in the future.
Definitely. I've had a lot of fun in DCL so far. I feel since the beginning of the pandemic, I haven't been around many people, but my avatar has been there, like talking to people. So it felt kind of like I remembered how to do that, you know? So yeah, thank you so much. So now we'll get into our interview portion. So my first question for y'all is, what interests you about converging the music and tech spaces? So I'll start with Perry.
For me, well, I started out as a musician myself, like a lot of people. So that's where I started, and I didn't think about technology at all being incorporated into music, except maybe DJing was the only thing that I thought of. But I was introduced to like music production when I was in high school. There was a music tech class, and that's when I kind of get interested. Wow, you can use computers, you can use all of these technology. At that time, it was Cakewalk on an old Macintosh, which was I thought was super amazing. And I thought, you know, this was really cool. And then I started to see more things about recording studios. So it was kind of like, you know, watching behind the scenes. And I had a theater in my high school as well. So I saw the sound guy working. And I got really interested in being able to do that. So that's how I kind of fell into that rabbit hole of music and technology. And I got into sound film when I went to college. So working on being able to kind of work with something that doesn't really deal with the visuals, because I think sound is another type of sense that is really interesting because you can't really touch or see it. So I thought that was super cool. And then there was music recording, so I kind of got into that and being able to work with artists and connecting with people. So that's how my interest in music tech.
Definitely, thank you so much. It is a rabbit hole, wasn't it? What about you, Konrad? How did you get interested in the music and tech spaces?
So I guess I used to, well, I still do DJ on the side, so I've always had a love for music. And I just wanted to figure out, you know, how I could be in the space. And once I finished university, I was actually out in Toronto, Canada at the time. And my friend calls me up and he's like super excited. He's like, you got to come down here. So I get down to his space and he starts explaining to me. He's like, man, I just spent like $1,000. He phoned up his whole basement with foam. He's just like, you know, I had to nail it. He's like, I had to ask my landlord for permission to put up all this foam up in my basement. And he's like, guess what? I'm like, what? And he's like, it sounds worse than when I had nothing. And I'm like, what do you mean? So he starts explaining it to me, how he made the floor livelier, the ceiling livelier. And I'm just like, there's no one that fixed this issue. And he's like, no, there's these half looking shield things, but no one has addressed the issue. So for the first year, I did my market research. I'm like, what's the need for this product? What's out there? And at that point, I enrolled myself in an audio engineering school, and learn how to record, learn how the whole aspect of audio engineering works. And that was a 2-year span. After that program, during that program itself, I kind of wrote the theory, started screwing around with different elements, different structures. I'm like, how does this product have to work? Number one, it has to be effective. Number two, it has to be price conscious. Number three, it has to be aesthetically pleasing. And the other two, I can't quite remember. But that was about a 2-year time frame from the start of the school to the end of school. And after that, I actually ended up hiring my teacher to help me prove the theory of how the eyeball works for all the patents and stuff. And the eyeball actually works by the projection of your voice. That's what eliminates the space, not the actual encapsulation of the microphone. What's not absorbed by the microphone diaphragm itself dissipates within the distance traveled within the cavity for like the higher end frequencies. The mids gets absorbed and the bass frequencies travel right through it. That's where you get a nice, clean, dead sound, that you can edit in post. And I remember, launching the company, and this was in 2014 in New York. At that time, I've spent all my money. I spent all my family money. My friend actually had to lend me his credit card to pay for the hotel room we were staying at. And we launched at the AES conference and at the CMJs in 14. And that's how we introduced the product into the world. And so that's kind of my introduction to the whole music business. So it's kind of a unique introduction, but it's a wonderful one. I've had the chance to meet some really wonderful people, and not so wonderful within the music industry as how it works. But that's my little tidbit.
Thank you so much. You definitely are a business person. I hear that in your intro. And I saw Mike shaking his head. He obviously knows about sound floors and decibels. I'm sure everyone else here does too. So what about you, Mike? How did you get interested in the music and tech spaces?
So, I started as a composer or mixing or music producer. But then there's one time I heard about NAMM show. And I heard about they provide a scholarship for students. So I apply, I get a couple $100 for me to travel over. Then I made all the music tech companies in one place, right? All the hardware companies, software companies, and then anything in between. So that's where I started to get into the music tech research or software development. And also AES, of course, AES is like a conference of research and just products, and also just audio engineers talks. I guess those places really get me into this community. How do we combine the technology and the need from the audio side or the musician side to create better music or better distribute music, or like our topic today, how to record at home. Those things can possibly be solved with hardware creation or software networking. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you so much. What about you, Alexis?
So for me, if I'm being honest, I really didn't have much interest in tech until I started getting into production and engineering, because you can't be an engineer or producer and not understand technology. You have to understand how your computer works. You have to understand, if you're mixing or you're doing a session, it just stops. You need to understand processing, and even down to, just if you don't have enough RAM, that's a big issue. And, you being able to download plugins, not understanding software updates and times when you shouldn't update your, hard drive, software. So I kind of learned it in that sense. And now that I have an artist development agency, as an artist, there's so many ways to make money. And I spent this whole year just kind of understanding ways that, I can help my artists as well as myself make more money. So like, for instance, like NFTs, like just understanding how, like as a creative, like if you understand tech and connect with people in tech, you can make more money. You're not going to always make money just from streaming your music and, just from doing just like what your one profession is. You have to have, multiple sources, I feel. So I feel like that's kind of like the gist of it, and you have to be innovative in the music industry, and technology is all about innovation. So if you're not staying up to date on the new, even down to social media, like that's tech, like you have to, it's like you can't work or do anything in the music industry without technology. So it's like, if you don't like it, it's like you have to learn it regardless. So it's not really much of an interest, more of like a need, I feel.
Yeah, the music industry is constantly evolving. I've come to experience. What about you, Liam?
Yeah, so I'm sure that a lot of people can relate in a sense of when I was younger, I was very much a nerd when it came to tech. Even before getting into music, I was always into things like video games. My dad was an architect, so he would always come home with brand new computers like MacBooks, PCs. There would always be some type of computer before anybody started to see that it was like really like mainstream. So this was early 2000s. So on spare PCs, I was very into the punk space, and I would see all these like punk bands look at, be in the recording studio, and I wanted to replicate that. And knowing that in that time, the resources for home recording and home recording tech was so limited, I basically would take a microphone and try to plug it into the line input microphone jack of a really old PC. And with that being such an interest at a young age, I was able to see the home recording space grow from a very niche, like no one knows how to do it and it's still very expensive, to now every single person on TikTok, Instagram, all the indie artists, 80% of them are working out of, their bedroom or in a basement like I am here. But not only that, I've seen it within my space, which is not just recording people, mixing people and all that, but like when it comes to my business, and a huge part of my business is also educating people, right? So I would always use technology and social medias like YouTube to figure things out when I don't have the answer for it. Like, if you look at my room, you'll probably see a few panels. And to go off of Konrad, like, I would look up videos on how to build these panels. I built these panels myself. And then the new technologies of things like Kaotica, when I first started to see the eyeball pop up either in my friends' stories or just all around social media, these real big celebrities using it, the first thing that we do is, go onto YouTube and look up how to do that. That form of marketing and that form of business in yourself is a really great technology that we utilize now that can also be transformed into Web3 and the whole metaverse. Because even right now, I use technology to my advantage to release content that goes through the typical sales funnel where they lead to me pitching an online course where I teach people how to mix vocals. That could still be implemented in Web3 and in the metaverse. And the way that we can go about, having that wide net for our funnel is only going to increase as our technology grows more into that world and away from where we're at now, where it's all just flat out YouTube and TikTok. It's going to be a little bit more interactive, where I can imagine a world where 5 years from now, I can have my students who opt into this course. We can all meet inside of a place like Decentraland. And instead of just, having a Zoom meeting like this, or instead of having to just talk through comments or chats on Discord, we can meet in a single place and just talk. And it feels as though they would be right in the studio with me, except it's all through the internet. So that is really going to just continue piquing, not just mine, but everybody else's interest for, music and technology.
Definitely. I'm really ready to see what's to come next in the music and tech realm, because it's just so interesting how people can, think of these things. And innovative ways and just, make things out of their minds and come to fruition in person. So that's really cool. And also, I'll introduce yourselves and told me a little bit of how you kind of started small and then your curiosity has grown with the more knowledge you've gained. And one of the reasons we decided to discuss new studio technology today was because it plays a big role in telling us about how we can expand our collaborations beyond our home base and also about the future of music and technology. So like you said, Liam, people are now starting to have their home studios, but there's also still like professional recording studios outside of that. But can a few of you tell me about how your role plays a part in the big picture of collaboration in music and tech?
Sure, I can speak to that point. I think, like artists are very lucky that we live in this kind of century where music and tech have made it so affordable to create a professional sound. I mean, you guys have, in the last 10 years, I mean, technology has evolved so much where you can take your knowledge and be able to reproduce a professional quality sound wherever you go. I think what's really missing is, like Liam said, it's that knowledge gap. It's like, how am I supposed to sound as an artist? And I think that's what's really missing. And that's the beautiful thing about studios, because studios take that question out for you. When you go into a studio, all you have to do is hit record. But that's just it, really realize that all this technology has been created that you can actually, create a quality sound. And no matter if you're an artist, producer, engineer, the other 100 things you can possibly be, technology has made it very easy for you to have the ability to network, to have the ability to collaborate, to have the ability to create a professional sound. And you do have to invest in yourself. Unfortunately, nothing is free, and you just got to realize you do have to invest in yourself. You do have to invest in your sound. That's the number one thing, because if you don't do that, you're not going to succeed. There's a million tracks going on Spotify every day. Everyone's banging their chest. I'm the best, I'm the best artist. I'm the best engineer. You want to work with me? That stuff doesn't work. It really, really doesn't. The higher you go in the music industry, I mean, everyone besides the artists, the engineers, the producers, all kind of below the artists. I'm talking about artists like Dre and Snoop Dogg. They're very humble. They're very humble people, and they care about each other and they're nice to each other. And that's why they're in the positions that they are. If someone comes in there with a big ego, they're just going to get knocked down. If someone comes in there saying, oh, I know the best. Oh, come and listen to my song. You got to just really sit down in the room and learn from these people. And that's what I really want you to take away from this is that, when you're integrating all these things, you're not the best. There is another 100 people that are better than you. You sit up, you sit down, you shut up, and you learn from those people. And you take that knowledge and be humble, and that's it. And that's going to increase your chances to make it within the industry tenfold.
Yeah, definitely. But how does your role play a part in the big picture?
In like my personal role or the role of my technology?
Either one, your personal role or your technology.
I think the technology itself, the eyeball gives you the proper acoustics to record a professional track. The thing about technology is acoustics are the most important part of the translation of sound. They give you the clearest and concise signal, because you can have a $1,500 mic, you can have the interface, you can have the software, but without the acoustic solution, you basically have nothing. And that's the beauty about the eyeball. It gives you a nice, clean, dead sound, no matter where you are, that you can add, the atmospherics in post. I think on the other hand, how I'm trying to impact the industry is to really move away from this corporate structure of the industry. The industry is very cold. And I'm talking about the corporate industry when it comes to music, not the music industry itself. One thing I've learned to go into these various events is, the corporate industry is very cold. You know, there's not a lot of life to it. They love to push the products on you. You know, everyone's, again, you know, banging their chest saying their products are the best. But what I've done with my company is really, you know, it's that word of mouth. You know, I've traveled, I've met thousands of people. I've put that work in and developed these relationships, because that's what counts. You know, and when I was starting my business in the beginning and even up to now, these people have genuinely helped me, and they don't have to help me. They're successful. You know what I mean? They never had to do anything for me, but just by meeting me and seeing the value of my technology, they've extended my hand and just said, how can I help you? How can I help you succeed in your lane? And that's the one thing, you know, we all have our own lane, and we're all, you know, chugging our way through it. You know, it's got zigs and zags and you know, various people, you know, that you're going to meet. And that one thing I just, you know, kind of want to touch on people is never, you know, in a business, never let anyone represent you. You are the business, you are the product, you are, how do I put it? You are you. You know, we've made that mistake before where we've hired people to represent Kaotica and sent them out in the field. You know, that's gone totally wrong. You know, and these various things, just remember you are you, and watch out, you know, for the various people. You know, everyone's always offering something to you. You know, I want to help you, I want to do this, but make sure that you analyze these people, and you do not necessarily trust these people, because these people will eat you as well. You know, and I've had the opportunity to be on both sides, and now, you know, being more weathered than I am, I'm able to, you know, actualize these opportunities and see, you know, the goodness of people, and find my way through the weeds. You know, and once you find your way through the weeds, this thing doesn't last forever. You meet great people, and then you enter these wonderful circles, and so on and so forth. So, you know, for the person starting out, just remember, you know, find who you are, find what your base is, you know, and don't necessarily trust all these people. You know, a lot of people are in it for themselves, and they will potentially hurt you. But just remember, there's a lot of great people. You got to get through the weeds to get through the success, you know, and the success is there. If you're talented, you've got the technology to have your back, and you will succeed in this business.
Definitely. You know yourself better than other people know you. Alexis, though, I know you and Liam are mainly engineers and creatives that way. So how does being an engineer in that part of your role play into the part of the collaboration, music and tech space?
You want me to start, Liam?
You, Alexis.
Oh, okay. Well, I would say for me, as you can see, I'm kind of sitting in my bedroom, which is like also my studio setup. So a lot of the songs that I've done for the past 2 years have been done right here. So for instance, like I said, as an engineer, I'm mixing for an artist, the producer sends me the beat, or I get the stems from the, you know, artist. And I bridge the gap between a song that sounds, you know, shitty versus a quality professional sounding song that, you know, is what the world needs to actually hear. You know, people don't really understand exactly what engineers do. They just know or can hear the difference. So I feel like my role as an engineer is kind of just to bridge that gap between quality sounding music, you know, what, you know, an artist does, you know, either at a recording studio or even in the comfort of their homes, versus once it actually goes out to the whole world. And, you know, having quality sounding music is honestly, like every song on Billboard is done by a professional mixing engineer, no professional mastering engineer. Like there are no, you know, songs that are top right now that haven't been mixed at the best of their, you know, quality. And even if they haven't, there's been other things that was able to move that song. So that's just kind of how I do it for, you know, as an engineer, just bridging the gap.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like y'all were saying, more people have like started making their own home studios, and sometimes the quality isn't that great, but you know, we're all creatives and we're working, learning as we go. And I want to pose this question to Liam. And so what are some ways that creatives can collaborate and make quality sounding music outside of the traditional recording studio?
Yeah, so
first off, to bounce off of Alexis and Konrad, I very much believe that what we do, whether we push a product like the eyeball or we're mixing tracks, producing tracks, there's a small education aspect to it where, I as a producer, and Alexis probably feels this way too, I even play a part in artist development. And when it comes to artist development, a lot of it has to push them to get more knowledge as to how they can either better their tracks or better the way that they present their art. You know what I mean? In the same way that for Konrad, when he's pushing the eyeball, when people don't understand how much of a importance room acoustics is when it comes to recording the vocals, there's not only a product, but a desire and value in that product. So since we're so closely tied to the education aspect of whatever it is that we do, that can only be translated more through technology, right? And whenever I work with artists all around the world, first of all, I use a plugin called Audio Movers Listen To. So if anybody in here is a music producer and they kind of don't know how to work with people all across the world, like this is literally how I do it. All it does is send them a link and they can open it in their browser and press listen. You can hear everything directly out of the DAW. This is literally how I've been able to work with people from, California all the way to Nashville, even right here in Philadelphia where I live and New York where I used to live. During the pandemic, a lot of people weren't able to actually come to the studio. So my first year of producing full time, I only had 2 or 3 sessions in person. Everything else was feeding my income just by using, this single plugin. So for the grander scheme of how music tech is going to allow collaborations like this, it's almost going to become a norm, if not, it's already a norm now, that people are going to be using this plugin or other plugins that do the same thing to work with people that they love all across the world without having to buy a plane ticket and fly over there just to have that experience. And there's always going to be a market for that as well. But where it is now, and especially for indie artists, because I guess we can all say that a lot of us are also broke, right? I can definitely say that too. A lot of us are broke, but we still want to invest in ourselves, not just financially, but for time. And when it comes to finances and time, we use things like this to say, hey, we're just going to link tomorrow on Zoom and use Listen to collaborate. And instead of having to spend so much money on this, that, and the third, like traveling here, going there, we can join areas like this where we can definitely just create art and still natural. And whenever somebody wants to be in person, we could do that. But I can definitely see the new world of recording technology being here. And, to even feed off of, I think somebody said this earlier about big studios kind of being less of a necessity. I kind of also came up with this idea or just like thought of, even if big studios wanted to still survive in this age, they can incorporate that online service and still have their business running, where a lot of businesses that were really big studios saw themselves fail because they didn't implement something like that, because they're so driven to only having people in person, where if they were to implement this new technology, they can still have their big studio, still work with big clients, still have this income coming in just by having like a good percentage of their business ran online. So that's definitely how I believe we're going to see everything meant together in the future.
Definitely. And I really did resonate with that part about connecting with artists or creatives across the globe. Like me as a producer, aspiring producer, I definitely would love to produce a song for a certain really big Korean boy band right now, but I am a little bit afraid of planes. So that remote collaboration is awesome. But my next question, I'd like to speak to Perry and Mike. Y'all are in the academic setting and audio research, and but also Perry, you did talk about that you are studying 3D audio reproduction and Dolby Atmos. I'd like you to speak a little bit more on that and how that speak about the innovative ways that people can use those systems in recording studios.
Yeah, definitely. It's still a new type of technology, 3D audio. But I think right now we're seeing more and more 3D audio being incorporated. Now Apple Music is adopting Dolby Atmos. As we've heard, Logic now is able to incorporate Dolby Atmos, Pro Tools. So those type of technologies, people are now kind of getting more knowledge about, okay, so what's Dolby Atmos? We see their name in theaters and stuff like that, but we don't understand what they're for. So I think it's a new type of technology that people are researching more, and being able to allow artists to use more tools in how they could make their music more interactive and also more immersive. We've also know things about ASMR as well as binaural beats, but that's just a starting point of it all. There's now more tools that people can use to make that immersive experience, whether that's buying a whole ton of speakers, so like 30 speakers or something like that, if you have the money for that, or being able to access a space with those amount of speakers, or being able to make those experiences over in your laptop or computer. So right now there's a lot of people working with Dear VR, which is Dear VR or Waves NX are great plugins where you can use to make binaural mixes. So you can turn your head around and still have like an experience where maybe the vocalist is staying right there, but if you turn your head, they're still going to be right there, or you can have them move along with you, still having that experience. And other types of plugins and tools where you can, make like a 12.2 system, a 5.1 system, incorporating height. So like if you look up, you can actually hear the difference in, music going up or going around you, things like that. So also being able to do any type of performance right now. Well, actually in the music tech program at NYU, there is a class dedicated to performance in different spaces, which is called distributed performance. This year, obviously, since COVID happened, that class has been super popular with students because we're using technology like Dante, Jack Trip, things like audio movers as well. CoreLink, which is actually something developed in the school itself. So it's a type of code for streaming audio with the least latency over IP.
Wow.
So those type of technologies are allowing us to be able to collaborate with musicians all over the world. So we've been using this technology, collaborating with musicians from, I think, Venezuela so far, and Brazil, and I believe Belgium. So being able to do that and not worry about having people off beat or the rhythm being off or something like that is really amazing. We're also incorporating other technologies in there as well. So we've also collaborated with dancers who would wear mocap systems. And so their mocap costumes would also react to the music being sent over as well. So it's a whole experience. And I think aside from the pandemic being probably the worst thing ever, I think it's actually helped us as performers and musicians be more creative and thinking of new tools of making more an immersive experience and bringing the experience home to people.
Yes. And Perry, so me being like small like this, I thought panning was cool, but hearing about all this immersiveness is like amazing. You just move your head around. It's like, that's so cool to me. I'm going to learn so much more about that later after this panel. But what about you, Mike? What do you think are some innovative collaborative ways to create outside of the recording studio?
I just want to talk about something like related to machine learning, because after just the recent years, there's been advancement in that field and been transformed to the audio. So we've been seeing like post-production tools, especially from companies like Isotope or a couple of European companies. They provide tools that can just remove the noise, just make it so clean, which means you don't really need to go to large studios. You can just record home. Even there's a bit of noise, you can just deal with in the post. So that's been one of the advancements I've been seeing, and it's being used widely. And also there's machine learning based audio effects coming out just recently, very few, but we're gonna see those coming out in the future. So in the past, we know like engineers want their old hardware to be used in plugin format. And actually that is very difficult to implement in the software. And you need a lot of knowledge in both the hardware and software design. But nowadays we can use just neural network to emulate those hardware in a very easy way that just give it a couple of days, let the computer run, and you sort of get a software version of the hardware, which is just amazing. And I think just this year or last year, Native Instruments used this technology to just release a couple of guitar amp emulations. And because it's just so easy, they're gonna definitely do more, and other companies gonna follow up with that. So,
Definitely.
Yeah.
And just you mentioned a lot of tech in your little spiel. So have you recently heard about any interesting projects or anything that you have participated in that that have been influenced by the tech that you use?
Oh, I'm not sure exactly recently, but I mean, Dante is one just been mentioned before. I think one thing Dante can be used is just to use Dante to make your house to be a multi-room recording studio, because before that you have to wire those cables into the wall, and that's a big construction. But Dante is just based on the Ethernet, and I guess many rooms has Ethernet connected, and then all the rooms can be turned into a recording booth.
Definitely. And what about you, Alexis? You said your studio is in your home, right? So what are some interesting projects that with the tech you use in your house, or any other projects?
I kind of want to add to a point. I don't know if this is, it might not be a popular opinion, but I feel like, you know, all those, like all the technology that kind of helps, you know, indie artists and just creatives kind of create music, like that's all fine and that's amazing. The problem is they don't actually want to learn it. I spent most of my time in the pandemic, like labels kind of sent me out to kind of help their artists. Like, you know, the label give them the money, they created the studio and their space, but, you know, then I'm getting calls, you know, to kind of know how to, you know, actually record it. So I feel like, you know, for me, I've been blessed to connect with, you know, Derek Ali, who, I don't know if you guys know, he, you know, mixes from Kendrick Lamar to like SZA to kind of pretty much everyone part of TDE. And he created a super dope platform called Engineers. And what that is basically any indie, you know, artist or creative, if they wanted to connect with, you know, a top-notch mixing engineer, for one, there's, you know, you can pay over time. It doesn't have to be like you're paying Chris Brown's mixing engineer his $1,300 off the back. Like you can pay in installments, and you know that you're getting like, you know, an engineer that knows what they're doing. You know, I think it's great that, like for me, I feel like I'm getting into production more, you know, and that doesn't mean I'm the next boy wonder, you know what I mean? So what Engineers kind of does, it allows you to connect with, you know, one of the top mixing engineers who you know is going to bring quality and, you know, the style, all the things needed for your music, but do it at a very low price, and you're able to connect with pretty much anyone around the world. For me with technology, that's kind of down to like social media. So I use social media for everything, you know, like Liam mentioned, when you start out, you are broke. So catching a flight even to LA is not always possible. But, you know, thanks to Instagram, I've been able to connect with people. Like I haven't even been to LA yet. The amount of connections I have already in LA, like when I go in February, like I'm gonna be out there for a whole month because I spent the past, you know, 3 years just connecting with them, you know, and I don't think people really think about how easy it is to connect with millions of people. I have so many connections in London, UK. I'm just waiting to be able to afford to fly out there to work with them. But I've been able to do that literally thanks to Audio Movers. So like I'm able to connect with whoever, wherever around the world. And I think that's the beauty of technology. But like I mentioned earlier, I think it's also about, you know, us utilizing the technology that helps us, you know, connect with the right professionals, because everyone kind of says that they're a professional and that's not always the case, you know? So I think it's important, like Liam said, is to, you know, find resources of people who are actually educated and knowledgeable on, you know, music and tech. You know, I think that's really, I think the most important thing.
Check those receipts.
100%.
Yeah. And we have, we're going to move into our audience Q&A after this last question I'd like to pose to Konrad. So for people interested in learning more about creating in innovative ways, where do you think they should start?
You know, exactly. I think Alexis really, you know, spelled that out. It's, again, you know, back to my point, investing in yourself. When you're starting out, you don't know what you don't know. And the thing about music, it's a very precise, how do I put it? It's a very precise puzzle. And you have to find people that are better than you within that puzzle. But the beauty about that is, you know, there's so many ways to succeed within the music industry. You know, there's different facets, different ways of learning. There's so many different jobs within it. But the number one thing is, if you want to be successful, you have to surround yourself with successful people. And within the music business, it's funny, the engineers do all the heavy lifting. That's just how it is. You know, they take a really crappy track and they can, you know, massage it enough to make it sound good. You know, but back to that one point is really invest in yourself and know that, you know, you're going to have to find people that know what they're doing for you to succeed. And as you mentioned, you know, there's everyone says, I know what I'm doing, but 90% of them are wrong. You have to just concentrate on it and surround yourself with successful people, and eventually it'll come to you.
Definitely. Well, thank you all so much for participating in our interview portion. And now we're going to move into our audience Q&A. I have some questions here for you. And for the first one, I'd like to pose this to Mike. Someone asked, what are some production softwares that you would recommend for beginners? I know you're a composer, so you have a little bit of experience in that. So what do you think?
Oh, anything free, honestly, anything free. Because I think the best thing is not to focus on the tools, because to just focus on the music. Just if you compose custom code music, it's really just the notes. If you do EDM, you may focus more on the software, obviously, but even like the building ones in your DAW is just good enough, really. They are good enough.
Definitely. Yeah. Liam, what are some softwares that you recommend for collaborating with artists abroad?
So to collaborate with artists abroad, there's definitely Audio Movers to listen to. But something that I was actually thinking about as other people were talking was, you know, it seems as though a lot of the things that we talked about in the panel is very like also progressive and, you know, advanced. But to even just, you know, simplify a lot of the tech and to not really introduce any crazy new ideas for people to try to adopt now. Honestly, there's a good portion of the work that I do that is fully just through things like Google Drive and just file transfer, Dropbox, WeTransfer. To even give an example, I work with a bunch of people in LA too, like Alexis said. Two of my biggest artists, they're both on TikTok. They're both pretty big on TikTok. The way that we work, and I'll go for the production one. I have this one client, her name is Bianca, and she would basically just send me a demo file through email or through Google Drive. I would import it to my DAW. I would produce the track. I'd upload it to Google Drive, and we would just go back and forth like that. So, you know, that's even simplified and best for people who
either are like don't want to learn, which is again like what Alexis said, a lot of these people simply don't want to learn, and you can't force anybody to learn. You know what I mean? So like if you are the type of person that you kind of just don't want to learn anything that complex, that doesn't mean that you can't get your work done, because again, like collaborating with people everywhere is as easy as, you know, doing your work, uploading it to Google Drive, sending the link, notes back on Google Docs, go back into your doc, this, that, and the third. It may take a while compared to doing it on Zoom and having the person there. But like, that's literally how I handle like 80, 90% of my work these days. So if you are just starting out and you want to collaborate with other people, not only is Audio Movers listened to, and of course Zoom a great place to start, but you know, just DM people. You can email people and then just do the whole file sharing thing with Google Drive, Dropbox, WeTransfer, whatever you use to send files.
Definitely. I also like to ask that question to Perry, because your studio works with Venezuelans and Brazilians. What about you? What are some software?
Yeah, some software. Definitely Audio Movers listen to. We use that so much this year, sending, especially for producers who need to tap into the studio and listen to their musicians. We've been doing that a lot. We've also been using Soundtrap, I believe. So that's where, you know, all the collaborators can be there and record in real time together, which has been very helpful. But also one thing, I think this is more so for people who are performing electroacoustic music or electronic music, not so much for the classical musicians or people, you know, playing through a score, is to be adaptable to the downfalls of the technology you're using. So Zoom, we know that it's better now, maybe from all the music and performers that have been pushing Zoom to like, we need Zoom to have the least latency, but also working with the latency. So one thing that I thought was really cool that a lot of our instructors have been working with is to incorporate the delay and latency in things like Zoom and put that into the score. Putting that into the music instead of trying to like everybody has to play at the same time. So I think that's really important, is to be adaptable with the moving technology and, you know, being more creative in that part as well.
Definitely use what you got now, folks. Yeah. For Alexis, what are some, I know you talked a little bit about people not wanting to learn. So what are some reliable educational resources to learn about production and engineering?
I'm gonna be honest, something that everyone can use, YouTube. Like I'm a visual learner. So I remember when I first started engineering, I could read all the books in the world. I'm not gonna learn that way. That's just not how I comprehend things. And music is very much, you know, it's all about your senses. It's your visuals, it's your ears. So I had to watch, like, if I'm able to watch a video and then I can, you know, duplicate it, that's how I learn. So anything that I don't know, honestly, like I go to YouTube. Another one that people, like, this is kind of, anyone can do this as well. And this is how I've learned, sliding in people's DMs, being very humble, like telling people they're dope. Like, hey, I like what you're doing. I think that, you know, what you're doing could make me a better, you know, creative. Can you show me? And like, you know, obviously, like if you don't have money, that's fine. Be useful. What can you offer them in exchange for them teaching you something? You know, like how I ended up knowing about Audio Movers. I had, you know, an interview for a label studio like back in August. And this is a top mixing engineer from, like, I don't want to drop a name, but he's been doing music for a very long time. And in the interview, before I left out, I was like, you know, I sent you a link to my mixes. I would love for you to take a listen and critique my stuff. I want to get better. I want to get as good as you. Like, I've studied your mixes. And he emailed me back. We started talking through text, and literally Audio Movers is how he was critiquing my mixes. So like, I'm a better mixing engineer, literally from just being home in my, you know, in the comfort of my home and using that one plugin, you know, to connect with a top mixing engineer to kind of just listen through in real time the things I could have done better for my mix, what he thought would have been a more, you know, better idea. And that's how I've gotten better with mixing and mastering. So that's just kind of how I've like utilized. And I think that's what anyone else can, like, never be afraid to hit people up. Social media is literally all my success thus far has come from social media. So TikTok is your friend, Instagram is your friend, you know, stuff like that.
It can be a little intimidating, but the music industry is built off of relationships. So yeah, Liam?
Yeah, I kind of just wanted to add to that because, you know, a part of my business is also in education. Literally a lot of the things that I've learned has definitely been through YouTube. It's like, there's like that joke of YouTube University. We all graduated from it. I'm definitely graduating from YouTube University. But even to just, I know Konrad said to invest in yourself. The way that I see a lot of people taking the extra step to bettering their knowledge on how to run studios or how to do this is either by coaching, like they find somebody, which is basically what Alexis did too, is by coaching. They find somebody that they really love and aspire to be, and they hire them out for coaching. Or the second way is through courses. I kind of want a shameless plug here too. I also just dropped my own course that teaches people how to mix vocals. And from the students that I currently have now, I've seen one student transform a song that he basically had me mastered too. The vocals were basically just kind of bland, not really interesting. He took the course, sent the new mix over to me, and it was completely game changer. And things like that, especially to have like somebody to contact back and forth and get that immediate feedback from, compared to just YouTube where anybody can watch that video. It may not be fully tailored to you. The best way that you can, you know, learn and get better at your craft, if you want to be fully tailored to your situation, what you do, whether you mix or produce for hip hop or indie pop like I do, or, you know, screamo rap, like it doesn't really matter what you do. If you find an engineer, mix engineer, whether they offer courses or coaching, you should definitely invest in that. And if you want to check mine out, you can go to LRHQproductions.com and click on the courses tab. I just wanted to plug it out there. Very relevant to what we're talking about.
Thank you so much, Liam. Yeah, I definitely have a lot of degrees from YouTube University myself. And like Liam did, I'd like to give everyone else an opportunity to tell people where they can find you, your websites or your social media handles. So Mike, you want to go first?
If you can see my name of the room, you can just search it and find it, Kelian Lee. Yeah.
Thank you. Perry?
I think mine would be on the website as well. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember, but you can also find me in the at New York University website, the Steinhardt School. I'm under the music technology program, and I believe my website is also there. I also have a couple of papers at the Audio Engineering Society as well, so you can also find me there.
Great. Alexis?
All social platforms at Alexis Engineers, you know, just hit me up. I answer DMs. So, you know, don't be afraid.
He does. And Konrad?
Yeah, just at Kaotica Eyeball. I don't have a personal one, but might come in the future.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for being a part of this summit and panel. I really enjoyed speaking with you all. And now I'm going to pass it over to our next speaker to close us out for the day with the keynote. So thank you so much.